listen to that sound, and it's getting brighter out around the back of the circuit. I know I'm like a stuck record, but it definitely is lighter over here now.
You've got blue sky overhead from your commentary box, Bruce. It is brightening up here. The cloud base is lifting. It's a question of when will it lift? Will it stop raining?
But it's a ball of spray heading down towards Fordwater, particularly with the foreshortening of the long camera angle. I can see the yellow GT40 of Nick Padmore leading them round, but they've got to assess the track situation. It will be different. There's the grid.
Well, there we go. Nick Padmore on the yellow GT40, Mike Whittaker, red Lola 270, Chris Ward, green GT40 on row 1, Chris Wilson and Hocking Falk GT40s on row 2, Darren Turner, Stuart Hall and Sean Lynn in GT40s on row 3. Back on row 4, the grid absolutely thickens. It's a sensational grid, and Jason Wright in GT40, Tony Sinclair in the red and green Lola 270 are on row 4. Katsu Kubota, Lotus 30, Keith Arler's Cooper Monaco, Chris Jolly Cooper Monaco are on 5, and Roland Lewis in the Hamel and Anthony Scrowan in the Lotus 30 are on row 6. Row 7, Mads Jerdrum, McLaren, John Clark, Tajiro, Rold Goethe, Lola. Row 8, Gareth Williams, McLaren Ford, M1B. João Paulo Campos Costa with his Lotus 30. Row 9, John Bladen, Holmes Winter in McLaren M1As. Rui Mercedes Silva in the Ford GT40 Roadster. Row 10 is Andrew Beaumont, McLaren Chevrolet, and Marshall Bailey, Lola Chevrolet. Then we go to row 11, Michael O'Shea, Cooper Maserati, Graham Bryant, Lola 270, Anthony Taylor, McLaren, M1B. And at the back, Mike Jordan, the man who was quickest in practice yesterday. The sun is coming out. I can see the shadows now over the flags to my right. So we wait the start of this Whitsun Trophy race. Whitsun Trophy race, only person who's ever won it more than once, Frank Sittner's won it 4 times. Everyone else has been knocking around trying to notch up a second, not quite made it. GT40 winners in the past, Darren Manning, Anthony Hancock, Sam Hancock, and then Ray Belm. Also the GT40 race of 2013, Adrian Newey and Kenny Brack, the victors on that occasion. Will it be a GT40 day, or will it be one of the Lolas or the McLarens that come through? Perhaps a surprise package. We saw the surprise package earlier in the one of the races there, the Goodwood Trophy. And Nick Padmore, you can see how bright it is down there, the light coming in through the side of the car. This should make some very, very good pictures, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out trackside. Paparazzi got their ponchos on, trying to keep the cameras dry. But this is going to be difficult. A lot of power in these cars, more than 400 horsepower in a lot of them, and trying to feed it into the ground gingerly at the start of this race is going to be key to getting off and up the road into Madgewick Corner, the double apex right that begins every super fast lap of the Goodwood Motor Circuit. You can see how the track appears to narrow. They filter into that rising right-hander. Down it goes, and away they go at the start. The yellow Lotus has hardly got away at all, but Mike Whittaker in the middle seems to have harnessed the power of the Lola best. He's got his nose ahead. Padmore is second. Ward is third, going up into the spray ball. You can't even pick them up now. And look at the view from on board with Chris Ward. It's all very sideways. He's fighting it, but he's making his way down towards Fordwater. And it's the red Lola 270 of Mike Whittaker who leads, but Nick Padmore looking up the inside. It's very, very slippery through. You can see how the car is aquaplaning and twitching, the GT40 on the inside. Padmore trying to get through on the inside, but Whittaker side by side, 2 into 1. Will they fit through into St Mary's? They don't fit because Padmore's nicked it. He's got ahead.
But they're tiptoeing around St Mary's. Of course, Padmore knows exactly what that Lola T70 could do, having driven it in the past. But Chris Ward twitching and sliding behind them. Can see precious little, but he's up the inside of Whittaker into second place to go down to Lavin. It's not going to be space for Whittaker. He's going to have to back off. So he was fleetingly leading this race. Now he's back to third. And Ward is setting off after our pole starter, Nick Padmore. The rest some way back behind.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic, isn't it?
Well, Whittaker's not been yet. He's actually held on around the outside, so he's still in second, and that's giving Padmore the opportunity to escape, while Chris Ward has to have another think about how to get past the Lola. He's having a look down the inside as they come down the 11th straight.
It's Padmore from Whittaker, And down the inside under braking, Chris Ward's going to squeeze through. He's dived through to the first apex. It's the second apex is the important one. You can see the back end of the Hamel's off. The Hamel of Roland Lewis, the left-hand drive car from the States. Roland walking away in the background. Don't know quite where that is on the circuit.
It's just out of St Mary's, waved yellow at St Mary's. That's not been put away yet.
Lots of bodywork off the front of that. Safety car is going to be out. Safety car is going to be out. And as Roland Lewis trudges away, the Ferrari 330 comes out and will pick them up. What a shame. The Hamel off in the wall, made by Ed Hamel. Saw a picture of the Hamel Imperial upside down in a racetrack.
Well, let's take a look at the replay. The first few cars went through fine and all on his own, just in the compression. Someone else went off ahead.
44, that's Bladen, John Bladen, the former FIA Thoroughbred Grand Prix champion. He was off as well. He was spinning. The Hamel spun and is knocked about at the front. And Bladen continues on his way.
But that's a classic case, Marcus. You often get one person, you react to what's spinning up ahead of you and you follow it in a funny, strange way. But it's that compression after St Mary's, hard enough in the dry, but in the wet with limited visibility. Not too surprising, some went round, but an amazing start to the race, particularly by Nick Padmore. Beaten away by Whittaker, but duked it out all the way down out of Ford Water and got him before St Mary's. Now the safety car. We can see the cars without the spray.
And Monmouth Jordan got up to 13th from 29th in one lap, and that was I was watching him. He started just below us, and he was very attentive at the start because there was some shenanigans ahead, and he waited for a gap to open before he blasted into it. And even with that tentative start, he's managed to take 16 cars. So
if you're looking out for him, he's car number 37, the silver and yellow Ford GT40. And that will continue to rise, of that you can be sure. But who's going to get it right when we get the racing all underway again? Padmore, Ward, Whittaker is the order at the front at the moment.
Yes, and look also for Tony Sinclair, who made a very, very good first lap. Well, here we go in car from the start, and you can see already the rain all over the windscreen, the wiper going kimber. You can see the red Lola to the right of Chris Ward. That's Mike Whittaker blasting through. Now you can see in peripheral vision the yellow GT40. They go door handle to door handle into Madgwick Corner, and from here on in, got that look of the bright sunshine glinting off the car, switch of sides, and then a massive twitch. Huge amounts of opposite lock applied by Chris Ward, but he did very, very well to get through that one.
Well, thank goodness he held it. He was in third position at the time. If he dropped it there in front of the next 25 cars, mind boggles.
Bruce. Yeah, absolutely.
The mind truly boggles. Anyhow, that was survived. But don't forget, that was a car starting on the front row of the grid. So the lack of visibility was down to fogging of the windscreen. Everyone behind had all of the spray, and now the overtake coming up from on board. It's very hard to pick it out. Very close to the back of Mike Whittaker, shaping up to pass him. Again, more twitching, just daring when to put the power down. And up in front, you've got the yellow Nick Padmore GT40 leading the way as they go down to Lavant. Super tight, but that was the move into second place for Chris Ward.
But then he loses it again on the outside of the corner on the exit as the Lola puts its power down better, but he gets him back. And yes, absolutely sensational.
That was the move for the lead, wasn't it? With Padmore going down the inside into the right-hander at St Mary's.
It was. I thought that Chris Ward's confidence was breathtaking, wasn't it, inside when he was controlling the car. Again, you can see the yellow Lotus didn't get away very well, Katsu Kubota. But up front, all very dramatic.
Yeah, seen from the front angle, it was a good enough start from Padmore, it seemed, but the power that Whittaker could put down in the 46 Lola T70 Spider, just absolutely fantastic. And in fact, Ward really was very close to Padmore as they turned into Madgwick. Great move there from Sean Lynn, gaining places around the outside in number 13. And with the sun having just come out, that spray really lit up.
Yes, going into the sun was a real big ask for some of those guys. You got the sun, this ball of spray, and then this ribbon of tarmac with the grass verges.
And I think what's happening now is that the safety car didn't actually pick up the leader, so he's been waving past.
No, it came out in front of Sean Lynn, who was running in 8th place. So
yes.
7 cars to get back around onto the tail.
But Padmore's bringing the leading cars around at quite a sensible pace, so it might take him a while to actually catch up with with the safety car. He's leading them across the line now with the safety car. Where's that? Is that on the run down from Madgwick to Ford Water? He's not with you yet, is he, Bruce?
No, because he's way through the group of cars led by Sean Lynn, still waiting for the safety car to get some areas. Commentary tower on the outside, beautiful sunny conditions, but track far from dry, you can be assured of that. But of course they're not kicking up the spray now. The Hamel has been pushed towards the edge of the circuit there. They know it's there. It looks very tattered because the bodywork's come off at the front end, but good news. Roland Lewis, the driver, seems fine and dandy and out of the car at the side of the circuit, but hopefully the lights on that Ferrari 330 will suddenly go dim. They will go out. Yes, they do. Okay, now we know when we get to the start-finish line, the safety car is going to rocket clear, and then Nick Padmore is going to try, as the race leader, to control the restart of this race. And tucked in behind, he's got Chris Ward, who is absolutely nobody's fool, both in GT40s. But don't forget, right behind them, Mike Whittaker has much more grunt in that Lola T70. So this restart could be very, very interesting indeed, as long as each of them gets right on the tail of the car in front.
So we're hearing news of an extra 3 minutes on the race at the end. Of course, the cars won't have fuel issues because they won't be running at the full speed. They were anticipating for a dry race. And here we go then.
No passing, of course, before the start-finish line. They wait for the safety car to withdraw. Pulls behind the barriers at the chicane, so Nick Padmore will have the sun in the eyes, but he's not allowed to be passed. But Chris Ward will be hard on the power now. He can get as close as he possibly can, and they've managed to drop Whittaker, which is unfortunate for the Lola driver. He wasn't quite on it, but down to the first corner, down to Madgwick. Padmore has enough in hand over Ward. Ward already getting a bit of spray thrown his way, but a very tidy restart at the front.
Padmore fishtailed out of the chicane. This is a tricky time because the cars will have very cold front tyres when it comes to turning into corners, and it's another difficult lap for the drivers. Once they get 2 or 3 laps in, though, everything should settle down. The 7
Stuart
Hall, who's going well in that GT40 with the distinctive air dams under the nose.
Well, the first 2 cars really pulling clear. The yellow GT40 of Nick Padmore, Chris Ward giving chase in the dark green metallic one, then a gap back to the Lola of Mike Whittaker, then a further gap back to number 3. Wilson on board there, another GT40, but everyone being very, very tentative. And you can see the tail coming out, Padmore having a bit of a slip, and going wider and also having a slip. Chris Ward in second place. They're pushing as hard as they can, but they're finding a complete
Sean Lynn's off in the grass. Yes, here he comes, trying to regain the circuit in Tessie. And TS1E.
I think Mark Jordan's now into the top 10. He might even be 9th. He timed it perfectly at the restart. He was alongside Keith Arle as they went across the line, but just behind. So you're not allowed to rotate before the start-finish line.
Yeah. Sean Lynn now behind the 2 Cooper Monacos, the cars of Chris Jolly under spin, and is that Rolf Goethe? I think it is. 98 car Goethe, he'll get going.
So more waved yellows at St Mary's Road will get that lovely T70 Spider going all over again. But right now, Chris Ward is starting to attack. A lot of the cornering lines are very unusual indeed. They're looking for grip, and if they don't find it, they slide wide and have to find a bit more grip further out. Both of them experimenting with the lines. It's very even Stevens, but a good exit by Padmore out of the chicane. Slightly wider exit from Ward, but Ward seems to have the pedal right through the floor, closing in, different maybe amount of horsepower. You said before the race, Nick Padmore's car not the most powerful, Marcus.
No, I think actually that will help him in this situation. Doesn't have the peaky power delivery.
Right, Marcus, just looking through the gloom, the 37th
Jordan's 8th. Here he is.
Car.
Yeah.
8th, is it? Yes, it is, and he's really having the hunt, getting close to the tail of Tony Sinclair. So he's up from 29th on the grid. He's gained 6 places now since the restart. That's not too shabby in a lap and a corner.
And he's the sole Class B entry. He's the extra from the back. Quickest in qualifying, and he's up behind Tony Sinclair now in 5. And Sinclair's frustrated by the 3 dark-coloured GT40s ahead of him. But it's Padmore, Ward, Whittaker, Wilson, Hall up ahead of Falk, Sinclair and Jordan.
It might be sunny, but the conditions are so tricky. I've seldom seen cars like this going so slowly in full sunshine. The track is so wet, but the driver who's putting it all behind him is the yellow stripe up the silver bodywork. It's Mike Jordan in 37, just behind Tony Sinclair. You can see him in the red and green stripe Lola T70 in front of them. But look, down to Lambert, they are almost, not quite at a standstill, but they're just looking for grip. But Mike Jordan hasn't time for that. He's got to just keep moving on.
That's right, and Stuart Hall's having a push now, trying to get up alongside Chris Wilson round the outside of the kink. But down at Woodcote, meanwhile, it's nose to tail for the leaders, and it's Padmore trying to control the race from the centre of the track, and Chris Ward right on his tail.
You wonder how much. Great to be able to go on board with Chris Ward in the second place, 55 Ford GT40. Again, he's got more grunt as he comes out over the curbing. Now alongside as they go past you and into the lead of the race goes Chris Ward. How's that for acceleration?
He does. He was 19 thousandths behind Chris Ward and as they cross the timing line, but now has that advantage. And Wilson holding off Stuart Hall, which is interesting. That's for 4th and 5th.
And Jordan passing Sinclair across the start-finish line as well.
And now has Hocking Folk up ahead of him in that very original GT40, the Scuderia Montjuic car. Sideways is Folk, and he fights it, he catches it, but round the outside has gone in that moment Mike Jordan, and Sinclair may be able to pick off Folk on the exit of the corner. Yes, he can, coming down towards Forewater. That was a huge slide. Hocking Folk did brilliantly to catch his car, but he's lost 2 places out of it.
Well, Chris Ward now in the lead of the race, much bolder around the dip at St Mary's. He knows where the grip is coming, and it should improve each lap. It hasn't rained for a while now, but they were so tentative on the restart. But Ward now clear of Nick Padmore. Padmore at 8 is trying his utmost, but Ward is becoming increasingly confident, able to put the power down earlier and earlier. And the battle behind Stuart Hall, look for him in number 7, still trying to get past Chris Wilson in the number 3 Ford GT40 for 4th place. This has got plenty of time left, just under 10 minutes, and I really feel that Hall is going to pick off a few more places.
Yeah, but Mike Jordan might pick him off, mightn't he, Bruce? As he's about to latch onto the back of those. Hall gets a good run now as they come out of Lavan onto the back straight. Oh, and
well, that's our second place
Padmore spun, but he's carried on. Full 360, I think, and he's carried on. He's not lost a position, but of course that has allowed Chris Ward to get a bit further away. Ward comes out of the chicane, and yeah, it's a nice, comfortable lead, although he's still squealing under power there as he comes through. Ward's got a lead of, and he sets the fastest lap as well. So he went past, set the fastest lap, and Padmore tried to go with him and had that off, and he's now 5.5 seconds behind.
Well, that's a comfortable cushion to have with 9 minutes remaining in the race, but for all of them, they should look out.
And Sinclair's gone round, coming out of the chicane in the T70.
That is a clear miss. He slightly clipped a marker board there. That is as lucky as you can be, but it's such a tricky corner. The power, particularly in the T70, you got so much of it, you want to put it down. But now Stuart Hall going up inside of Chris Wilson into 4th place. Can he make it work at Madrick corner? It's a long, long corner, 2 apexes on it. And Wilson on the outside as the power down stays ahead. Yeah, but look at Jordan. Well, he's taken the moment out of position for Stuart Hall after that challenge into Madwick. I think it was a matter of time anyhow, but certainly Mike Jordan absolutely flying. Another position gain.
That worked perfectly for him, didn't it, Bruce? He just was able to pick his spot once Hall lost momentum, and he's already having a look at Wilson. But
yeah, he should have him before St Mary's. Wilson just coming across to make a hint that he's closing the door, but he hasn't at all. He's now drifting wide. And now I think we're going to have the outside-inside manoeuvre, but there's so little grip at St Mary's, and I think Mike Jordan's decided discretion, the better part of valour. Down into the dip they go. Wilson is going to have to be on tippy toes as he gets down to Laban. Up the inside for sure will come at Mike Jordan. Can he be blocked? Well, he can be, because Wilson's coming across.
Driving a canny race, isn't he? But he's out wide this time. He's understeering a little bit, and that may give Jordan a hint of a chance up the inside.
Well, Jordan was thinking about it, and I think he just thought, well, I'm going to have a bit more grunt. If I can get a better exit, I'll be around the outside of him down the kink, and kink it is. At the tail, snapping away, but Jordan has far more power hitting the circuit than Wilson dares put down. So Wilson goes back another position, and more to the point, the driver who started 29th should now be up into 4th place. That is a fantastic drive from Mike Jordan.
Yeah, he's got a big gap now to catch the 3rd place Lola of Mike Whittaker. The top 3 are a long way down the road, and then fair play to Padmore. He's done his personal best the lap after having a
best sector one of anybody,
and has pretty much matched Ward's time. Because that means the gap is still 5.5 seconds. It has edged him a little bit further away from Whittaker in 3rd, and then Mike Jordan comes across the line in 4th for the first time, 14.4 seconds behind Whittaker's Lola, not lapping any faster at the moment, but that's because, of course, he's been overtaking cars.
He has indeed. Some of them have been sliding wide and making it easier, but there is Mike Jordan, who's really getting a fantastic flow going, kicking the tail out of that 37 Ford GT40, glorious in its silver and yellow race livery, and he's dropping the little group behind him. Wilson is still ahead of
Sinclair
all.
down to 11th place, haven't we?
Oh, good spot.
Darren Turner's come up to 8th, Jason Wright is 9th, Chris Jolly is 10th, and Sinclair 11th.
And Hall has finally made it past Wilson, so he saw Mike Jordan come past them both, and he's now got the number 7 car up into 5th place. Oh, and the leader really sideways there. Chris Ward still pressing on as he heads down the 11th straight, but I think he's probably safe if he can just keep it on the road.
You'd have to think so, Kevin, but every time he goes wide to pass someone, he's getting onto the slightly wetter part of the circuit, and it very nearly caught him out there. Chris Ward, of course, famous for amazing car control. He needed a fair bit of it, as he did at the opening corner on the first lap. So Chris Ward leading by nearly 5.5 seconds. I think it's probably going to continue to extend this lap. Padmore seems, though, to have recovered in number 8, but second place after that spin appears to be his lot.
Well, here comes Chris Ward then up to complete his 10th lap. Through he goes. He's got a Lola T70, which is Graham Bryant, and the McLaren of Andrew Beaumont ahead of him. He's going to take it easy, he can afford to take it easy, but there was no room there for him on the inside. So to go around the outside of the Bryant Lola.
And riding on board with Chris Ward, he can see a whole lot more out of his windscreen than he could on the opening lap of the race, but it really was rather steamed up. But great to have an onboard camera with him. He's got past those back markers. Gap went out to 6.2 seconds on the start-finish line. That would have come in slightly. And now giving chase, Nick Padmore might attain a little bit of succour there from the fact that race leader Chris Ward was held up. He himself is going around the outside and not being interrupted.
And on his first lap without traffic, Mike Jordan is the fastest man on the track, 1:52.6, which is almost a second quicker than Chris Ward went on that lap. And half a second quicker than Whittaker. Whittaker, that was a good lap from Whittaker.
Yeah, Whittaker's actually lapping lap quicker than Ward last time through. Ward sliding beautifully in the GT40 up towards Lavant.
This won't be such a good lap for Whittaker. In the background, you can see him snaking his way past those two back markers, but it was like a slalom course for him as he ran through St Mary's, so he'll have lost a little bit of the time that he was trying to claw back. Mike Jordan behind him, lapping half a second a lap faster, but is 14 seconds down. So Whittaker in the Lola T70 Spider ought to be safe in third place.
I'm impressed with the Belgian, Anthony Scrown, 14th in the best of 3 Lotus 30s. He's ahead of Kubota by several places, and also Campos Costa.
I'm sorry, I love watching Ford GT40s anytime, but seeing them being put so sideways under such fantastic control by the leading drivers is really deeply making my day.
Marshall Bailey in from Dubai with the Cambridge cigarettes. Lola T70, car that raced originally in New Zealand.
Well, it's great that the rain that hit before the race has gone away. It's drying out, but the track's still very, very tricky indeed. The fact the drivers are lapping in the 1:51 mark just shows that's no quicker than they lapped last night when the track was properly wet. Mike Jordan continues the chase, 3 minutes to go in this race. He's still in 4th place, but he's only shaving a second a lap off Mike Whittaker, who's in that number 46 Lola T70 Spider. It's Ford GT40s 1 and 2, 55 leading from 8. That's Chris Ward from Nick Padmore. 5 seconds is the advantage. It should be enough for Ward.
Lovely slide from Mike Jordan. He's fighting the GT40 all the way. Comes past 98, that's Roald Goethe.
Extremely wide eyes there, Mark. He's really having to focus even in a straight line.
Well, I mean, for Mike Jordan coming from the back, he'll have had the fun of doing all the overtaking. Certainly that opening lap will fill an hour in the bar afterwards, I think, because he overtook so many people in the spray, some of whom he may not have been able to see. But since then, he's just having to accept he's not going to get on the podium, barring disaster for those ahead. But Chris Ward in 55, leading absolutely beautifully.
And he's got 3 cars ahead of him. We've got the Mercedes Silver GT40 Roadster and the 2 McLaren M1As. One of them is Harms Winter, who just about leaves space. And ahead is the black car of Bladen that spun on the opening lap.
Well, he's got past them, and he knows that he's managed to get past Nick Padmore, who's giving chase in the background of the shot.
Padmore's not 5 seconds behind.
No.
There are 3 cars between him and the leader.
But he should be able to pass most of them down the start-finish straight, as long as he gets enough grunts out of the final corner. Now, this should be the start of the last lap. We have 1 minute 40 on the clock, and they're lapping in 1 minute 54s. Just waiting for the signal. Oh no, we've got the 3 extra minutes, haven't we, tacked on to the end of this race. I don't know if that's been added to the clock. So for now, Nick Padmore giving chase in the number 8 Ford
Vinter's gone really wide in the blue and silver McLaren. He stayed on though. Good effort. Padmore fighting. It's 3.2 seconds now. It's come down, but of course this lap he had to dispose of the 3 back markers.
Whittaker was actually the fastest of the leaders on that time round. So he's actually pulled away from Mike Jordan again on that lap. So I think you're right, Bruce. I think the top 3 are set, barring disaster.
I think they are, and really what we're seeing at this stage of the race, only the very best are really lapping at fantastic speed at the front. Those behind are really being very careful indeed. They don't want to risk anything. It's the final lap of the race, so they're on their tiptoes. Every time I look up to see 46 Mike Whittaker comes past me at St Mary's, he has to do the slalom run. He has back markers here every lap for the past 4 laps. Chris Ward, though, leading the race, 3 and a bit seconds, totally under control on the final lap. Time for a bit of showboating. Kick the tail out one more time, Chris. In fact, there's one more time coming up when you get to Woodcote.
Down the long straight then towards Woodcote. For the final time comes Chris Ward, multiple winner here in years past in different cars. Got no one to worry about, just a case of stroking it home now. Chris Ward already 5 times a winner here at the Goodwood Revival meeting. He's going to make it 6, provided he can just keep off the curb and bring the number 55 Ford GT40 home. It is. Here he comes then to win the Whitsun Trophy, Chris Ward, and behind him the man who started from pole, Nick Padmore, in 3rd place, the best of the loaders, the John Surtees car of Mike Whittaker. Good drive from him, thumbs up, and a great drive from the back of the field all the way through for Mike Jordan. Well worth the effort. Disappointed not to have been able to take up his pole position, but he slugged it home to his personal best lap on the last lap of the race, a 1:52.573. Fairness, Ward out front at a 51.7 the last lap. This was a good one for him, but he was clear of traffic in fairness at that point. So it's Ward from Padmore, Whittaker from Jordan. Hall was in 5th place, and in 6th, Chris Wilson, who drove a really good race.
And I think we have to commend all the drivers. They were very tricky conditions. Lack of visibility, total lack of grip at the start of the race. And yet, apart from those 2 cars, the Hamill and Bladen's McLaren going for a spin, we really kept it very clean out on the circuit.
Yep, only the Hamill sustained significant damage from the incident. So everyone else got home. There'll be a flatbed sent out to retrieve the American-built car from that compression between St Mary's and Lavant. And there's Chris Ward waving happily to his fans at the side of the track, and the marshals as well. Always one to praise them. Chris from the JD Classic stable in Malden in Essex. Used to be chief instructor at the Silverstone Racing School for many years. These days runs the show at JD and drives all manner of cars brilliantly. They'll be pleased with that. Had a frustrating weekend elsewhere.
Mind you, he's got a good chance for the big one again, hasn't he, tomorrow?
Absolutely.
With Gordon Shedden.
Particularly now their nearest rivals out of the race. He's also got a chance even from the back with the Cooper Jaguar, because he's been put back to there in that outing. But coming through the chicane, bright sunshine greeting them, brisk wind still coming from right to left as they come up the start straight. There it is then. Chris Ward wins the GT40. 2nd, Nick Padmore, GT40. 3rd, Mike Whittaker, loader T70. 4th, Mike Jordan from the back, GT40. 5th, Stuart Hall, GT40. 6th, Chris Wilson, GT40. 7th, Joaquin Falk-Rossignol, GT40. 8th, Tony Sinclair, after his spin in the Lola. In 9th place, Darren Turner, GT40. 10th, Jason Wright, GT40. 11th, Sean Lynn in a GT40. 12th, Chris Jolly with the Super Cooper. And then Keith Arles in the King Cobra version, the Ford-powered Cooper 61. Anthony Scrown's Lotus, Katsu Kubota's Lotus, and Mads Djurdrum's McLaren complete the top 16. 17th, John Clark in the Giro. 18th, Gareth Williams in the McLaren Ford M1B. 19th and 20th, the McLaren M1As of John Blade and the Harms Vinter. 21st, Rui Mercedes Silva in the Ford GT40 Roadster. Then Michael O'Shea with the X-Roy Salvadori Cooper Maserati. Marshall Bailey was 23rd in his T70, and João Paulo Campos Costa, the Portuguese, 24th in his Lotus 30. Raoul Goethe and Andrew Beaumont, the T70 and McLaren M1B respectively. They were next up ahead of Graham Bryant and Anthony Taylor, Chevron in the Lola and McLaren, and that completed the finishers. Only non-finisher was Rhoda Lewis in the Hamel. Well, down the grid there's mass jubilation down there, and Chris Ward is celebrating. Henry Hopeforth is down there on the podium.
I am indeed, Marcus. Thank you very much indeed. Exhausting and terrifying just to watch. I can't imagine what it was like to be in. Let's find out. Start with our third place man, Mike Whittaker. Mike, the GT40s were a bit too strong today, but you were earning your money and working hard.
Yeah, it's a little bit like in a team thing. The first thing you've got to be is first of the T70s, and I couldn't see one in the mirrors behind me. I could just see Nick and Chris Ward in front, and that was everything I had today. I went off again at my friendly Madgwick, sort of mid-corner, trying to push.
But it's a stinker, Madgwick, isn't it, in these conditions, in a quick car?
Yeah, it is. And the thing I don't have that, say, Nick and Chris have is that they're professionals and they are just 100% the same around that corner every time. So I was trying to follow the same line, and sometimes I was, sometimes I wasn't. But those guys were just, they just had their lines right. And then you just couldn't use the power of it. Your wheel spinning in fifth gear, sort of through the kink at the back. Remembering that I've got to go to the bank on Monday morning.
You've got to go to the party first, mate.
Oh, that's true. Yes, that's true. I'll be there in my rah-rah skirt tonight.
How awful. Well done, Mike. Let me talk to Nick Padmore, slightly wide-eyed.
Wow. Sometimes I think I've got the best job in the world, but that was unbelievable. All that was at the end of the 11th stroke was letting the clutch up too quick, and it just went.
Lock the rears.
Yeah, lock the rears like someone pulling the handbrake, and it's a big case of this is yours, it's mine, it's yours, and Christ.
How many times did you go around?
I lost count after about 15, I think. I saw the crowd going like that, and I said, I'm pleased you're enjoying it.
Good fun, though, anyway.
Brilliant fun. It's the slipperiest I've ever known this place. It's really lethal, and thank you very much to Christopher Stahl, who's invited me to drive the car, and Goodwood, of course, and thank you very much.
Well done, Nick.
Cheers.
I've got to be a bit quick with you, sir, because you're on pole in the next race.
Yeah, we're in the next race for sure. On pole, not quite, but I'll have my work cut out there. But what a fantastic race. So slippery out there. I just couldn't believe how slippery it was. The slightest breathe on the throttle and the car's sideways. We changed the setup of the car between qualifying and race, which made it much better, but we've still got room for improvement as well. But all credit to the boys at JD Classics for putting a great car together.
Spinning the wheels in all the gears, everywhere.
Yeah, all the way down. On the approach to Woodcut, wherever we put the throttle on, just wheel spin. And you're going into a lot of the corners sideways on the brakes. There's literally just no grip out there. But it's a question of finding the grip. Nick pushed me hard. He had a little bit of a spin, which gave me breathing space, and then I could just maintain that from then on.
Were you expecting to see Mike Jordan at some point in the mirrors, joining the party?
I could see that the signs were saying he was getting closer. He put in a great time yesterday, and that was something we couldn't match. But I knew where he was, and if we had to push harder, then we would have done. It would have been a bit more risky, but that's what we had to do if we needed to.
Yeah. He got to fourth in the end.
That's a great drive, especially in those conditions.
Yeah. Well done, Chris, once again.
Thank you very much.
Chris Ward then wins the Whitsun Trophy in the Ford GT40. We're turning our attention to the final race of the day, the Freddie March Memorial Trophy.